So here we are with Spring Semester Final Review Day 5, starting with question 33. Yay! We're almost done. Okay, so we're going to read the question to start off with. That's always a good place to start, right? See if I can get my pen to work. There we go. All right, the completion of a certain chemical reaction is expressed by the equation y equals 188 minus 5x minus x squared, where y is the number of seconds needed to complete the reaction, and x is the temperature in degrees Celsius at which the reaction occurs. If the reaction is complete in 104 seconds, what is the temperature at which the reaction occurs? Okay, 104 seconds. Seconds was y, right? Y is the number of seconds. So y is 104. So we could replace this y right here with 104. Okay, so then they say which is these would be the temperature. Okay, we have a couple of choices. We could solve the equation for x, which is probably the most traditional method. If we do that, then what we need to do is the y value needs to be 0, so we would subtract the 104 from both sides. Okay, and we would use the equation 0 equals 44 minus 5x minus x squared. Now from here we could solve it using factoring or the quadratic equation because it's to the second power, or we could use our calculator, and let's go ahead and do a doc B here and clean out our calculator. Okay, so in our calculator we could use menu 3 for polynomial tools because it's quadratic is a polynomial, and we choose it's a degree 2, the roots are real, okay, and then we replace these from our equation. So this would be our ABC value, and so we go back to our paper and it's written backwards, so it's -1, -5, and 44. So -1, -5, and 44, and we say OK, and that's our equation. So we hit enter, and it gives us -9.5 and 4.5. Okay, so when we look back at our answer choices, that doesn't exactly match any of them, right? So, but none of these answers are negative, so it's not going to be the -9.5. 4.5 would round up to be 5 seconds, okay? So that's the answer we would pick. All right. There are other ways to solve, and if you've got another one that works for you, you go ahead and use that, okay? All right. Number 34 says the area of a rectangular floor is described by this equation, where W is the width of the floor in meters. What is the width of the floor? All right. Got a couple of choices on this one as well. This is an equation to be solved. We could try using our equation solver because we would be multiplying W times W. If we were simplifying this out, we would get W squared, which means we could use the polynomial tool from above. Another way that may be a little simpler is one of these numbers is the width of the floor. So it might be easier to just substitute this in for W. So that's what I did. I just went 12 times 12 minus 9, and that equals 12 times 12 minus 9. That equals 36. So that was not my answer. So then I jumped down to J and said 21 times 21 minus 9. What does that equal? That one equals 252. So that's what this one should, right, equal. So J is my answer for 34. Okay, let's check out 35. 35. The area of a square is described by this equation 1/2 x squared equals 162, where x is the length of a side in feet. What is the length of the side of the square? Okay, again, several ways to do it. One thing when I'm solving, I really, don't like to have fractions. So I would multiply this entire thing by 2 and have x squared equals 4, 12, 324. And so if x squared equals 324, then x would be the square root of that. So x equals the square root of 324. Control x squared, 324, and I get 18. So 18 feet, be answer choice A. Determine which function is linear, quadratic, or exponential, or inverse. Okay, this shape is a parabola, so I know that's quadratic. This shape is exponential. It's just that single curve. Okay. When I have two curves, that's an inverse function. I think inverse, they're mirror images, right? And then this last one is a line, so this would be linear. All right, 37. The student enrollment E of a high school was 1,310 in 1998 and has increased by 10%. Okay, increased by 10%, that's going to be important. Which function gives the school student enrollment in terms of T, where T is the number of years since 1998? Okay, so in 1998 we were at 1310, so that's where we started. And so in our equation we're starting there. It looks like we may be here because I put the 1310, but because of the to the T power, that's not where we started. If we started with it, it wouldn't change. Okay, so 1310 by itself. Okay, and then increase by 10%. So we still have 100% of the amount, and then we're adding 10% to it. So that's actually 110%. Right now. So if we divide that by 100 to get our decimal, that would be 1.10. Okay, so that's not 1.10. If we add these two together, that would be 1.10. So D is our correct answer. Okay, let's check out number 38. Okay, the population, a population of 500 is decreasing. Okay, decreasing by 1% per year. Which function models this situation? Okay, so we're starting with 500. So this starts with 500. 500 is a constant in all of those. Decreasing means we're going to subtract by 1%. So we had 100%, and we're going to subtract 1%. Okay, and if I'm looking here, right, we got 1.01, that would be more than 100%, right? Because this would be 1 minus 0.01. So let's see, that's more than 1. That's 0.1, that's not even right. And then we have 1 plus 0.01, so that's not going to work. And 1 minus 0.01, that's a match. Okay, let's moving on, 39. The volume of a gas V varies inversely. Okay, so the inversely, we would write that as V equals some number K over P. Okay. Then it says the volume of a gas is 30 liters and the pressure is 2. Okay, so that means K over 2. What equation represents this situation? Well, I need to know what K is in order to write the equation. So I have to solve this. I'm dividing by 2, so if I multiplied, that would cancel. So I do 2 times 30, so that gives me that my K value is 60. So my equation would be V equals 60 over P. All right, number 40 and our last one. Hooray! A truck driver drove from one warehouse to another in 5 hours, traveling at an average speed of 42 miles per hour. If the return trip took 6 hours, what was the driver's average speed on the return trip? Okay, so the first thing I'm thinking is this has something to do with that formula, distance equals rate times time. Okay, and if I'm going to, and from the same place, then my distance is the same. So my first trip, we'll call that R1 and T1, right, would be equal to R2 and T2 because they'd be the same distance. Okay, so the first rate was 42 and the time was 5. And rate 2 I don't know, but the time was 6. Okay, so 42 times 5 is 210. So 6R equals 210, so we would divide by the 6. And let's see, that goes in 3 times with 3 left over, so 35. So his rate would be 35 miles per hour. Awesome, we finally finished the review. Hooray!